Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something that, let's be honest, we all think about: how to actually find happiness and a sense of meaning in the job you have right now. And here's the really good news: you probably don't need to quit or make some massive, dramatic life change to find it. So, let me just ask you this straight up. Do you ever feel like you're on autopilot at work? That your job has gotten a little boring? Maybe you feel kind of stuck in a rut? It's that feeling, right? The one that just drains your energy day in and day out. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, I want you to know you are so not alone. This feeling is incredibly common. So let's just start with a quick reality check and see just how many of us are in the exact same boat. Okay, just look at this number. This comes from a major Gallup poll, and it shows that more than half, more than half of all American workers are dissatisfied with their jobs. Let that sink in for a second. In your office, on your team, the majority of people might be feeling the exact same way. So what's the fix? Well, the core idea we're exploring today is really about a shift in how we think. Happiness at work isn't some destination you finally arrive at. It's a byproduct. It's what happens when we stop chasing happiness itself and start focusing on managing our own actions and behaviors. When you do that, the success and the good feelings, they just follow. Let's break down how to actually do that. The foundation for building this happiness rests on what our source material calls the 3 pillars. Think of these as the core areas you need to focus on to really, truly change your experience at work. And here they are: mission, relationships, and performance. Your mission is your why. It gives you a sense of purpose. Relationships are your people. They give you that sense of belonging. And performance is about getting good at what you do, which gives you that awesome feeling of accomplishment. When you get all 3 firing, you don't just feel busy, you feel genuinely fulfilled. And this really highlights their power. These pillars aren't just for when things are going great. They're your support system. They're the framework that helps you navigate those tough days we all have, giving you the resilience to push right through the challenges. Okay, so we've got the why down. Now for the really fun part, the how. This is a fantastic, practical technique called the sugar pellet method, and it's all about making those big, intimidating changes feel small and totally doable. So here's the 4-step breakdown. You start with your big picture, your future vision. From there, you create smaller micro goals. But now, here's the magic step. For each of those micro goals, you define a sugar pellet, which is a ridiculously tiny first action. For example, if a micro goal is to walk more, your sugar pellet isn't the walk itself. It's just buy new walking shoes. See? Easy. Finally, you track your progress, because seeing those little wins is what keeps you fired up. The psychology behind this is just brilliant. By making the first step so easy it's almost silly, like a single sugar pellet, you totally lower the mental barrier to getting started. It helps you build momentum with small, consistent wins, and that is the absolute key to making new habits that actually stick. And this leads us perfectly into the wider science of habits. Because when you really think about it, your daily experience at work is just a collection of your habits, the good ones and, the not so good ones. So let's see how we can consciously start building better ones. Every single habit you have runs on this simple 3-step loop. First, you've got the cue. That's the trigger that kicks it all off. That leads to the routine, the action you take. And finally, you get the reward, that little bit of satisfaction that tells your brain, hey, remember this, let's do it again. The real secret to new habits isn't more willpower. It's about being smarter and engineering a better loop. Here's a perfect example. Let's say the cue is you feel that afternoon slump and you want a social break. The old routine is to grab a cookie from the canteen, but the reward you're really chasing is connection. So here's the hack. Just swap the routine. Instead of the cookie, suggest a quick walk with a colleague. You get the exact same reward, but you've built a much healthier habit. Okay, so we've seen how building habits can really help with that performance pillar. But what about the others? Let's zoom back in on mission and relationships by looking at 2 huge drivers of long-term fulfillment: continuous growth and deep connection. I love this idea so much. Learning isn't just a chore you do to get a promotion. It's about being curious. It's about making your everyday tasks feel like a continuous adventure. And get this, when you learn something new, your brain actually releases dopamine, which makes you feel good. Learning literally creates happiness. This is all powered by what's called a growth mindset, the simple belief that your abilities can be developed. When you see challenges not as threats, but as chances to learn, it completely changes your whole experience. Setbacks stop being failures. They just become data points for how to improve next time. Now, let's talk connection, because this slide is, well, it's staggering. A Cigna survey found that 72% of young adults report feeling isolated. Loneliness is a massive issue, and since we spend so much of our lives at work, building real connections there is more important than ever.
The good news is that connection doesn't have to be complicated. It's built on small, intentional acts. Think of these as connection sugar pellets. Arrive a few minutes early to a meeting just to chat. Say a real hello instead of just walking by. These tiny investments, made consistently, are what builds strong bonds at work and fight off that feeling of isolation.
So, as we wrap this up, here's the one central message I want you to take with you. You are not powerless. You don't have to wait for a new job or a new boss to be happier. Through small, consistent, and intentional actions, you have the ability to fundamentally change your own work life for the better. And you can start today. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question of all. After everything we've talked about, what's one tiny, manageable step you can take right now? What will your very first sugar pellet be?